Yes, served us very well, and I've been informed, and most of you know him, that he's running for the leadership of the new Democratic Party. So please make welcome Charlie Angus.
Wache, bonjour, Charlie Angus, Nijinakaz. I'm honored to be here this afternoon with you, my friends. The representatives of leaders from across Treaty 9, many of whom I know and I've worked with. And I've cherished the support and the friendship, and above all, the education that the people of this region and your communities have given me in my work. As you know, I am running for the leadership of the new Democratic Party, and I'm running to become leader because so many of the issues that we've talked about around this table in our communities year after year, we need action on it now. On this 150th anniversary of Canada, the bill is coming due, and we need leaders in Ottawa, in the Queen's Park, who will take the concerns that have been said time and time and time again and act on them. I've been talking across this country about three pillars of what a vision for a better country is. About economic justice, about environmental justice, and Indigenous justice. And we don't get one, we don't get any of them unless we get all three together. And that's the way we need to look at this sense of unity. And on Canada's 150th birthday, on this 102nd year of the signing of the treaty, on the 40th anniversary of the NAN Declaration of Unity, it's time now for action to move on what has been said time and time again. And I think of that so much, hearing the powerful words of the survivors and families, especially the young woman, the young leader who told us about the abuse in the foster care system. And it's got to stop. For these young people, we need to make change in this country. So what does this vision of economic and environmental and Indigenous justice look like? Well, to me, I learned a lot, that it comes down to the treaty. And you know, I didn't know anything about the treaty when I was made Member of Parliament. I thought treaty was something that was long, long, long ago. And then I found out, well, Stan Lugat's uncle signed the treaty. Her grandfather signed the treaty. And Teresa Spence's grandfather signed the treaty. And Norm Wesley's grandfather signed the treaty. And many people in this room, your grandparents and great-grandparents were there when the negotiations took place with the treaty commissioners. It's not ancient history. And what we learned about the treaty, it was a really good deal for Ottawa and Toronto. It transferred control of the greatest mineral and hydro and timber wealth in the world, and transformed Ontario from an economic backwater into an economic powerhouse. That was the benefit of the treaty to one of the treaty partners. And what of your communities? What benefit did you get from the signing of a treaty that in oral commitments were made to share the land? And I think the treaty brought my family to this country because of the opening of the gold mines. My grandfather, Charlie Angus, was able to come here and build a life. Meanwhile, the government was taking away your ability and your rights on the land and taking away the children. And we have to think of that in this now 102nd year of the treaty, because it's still going on and it has to stop. And this week we mourn the latest 4 young people from Treaty 9 who we lost in this broken foster care system. And I'm tired of hearing officials say, well, we're working on it, and we hear you, when we know that it was the chronic underfunding, the underfunding when they knew in 2006 the Barnes Management Group had done that report on the underfunding of Tikanagan and Payakatano and said the crisis that they were facing then. And government turned around and laid off the frontline workers and closed the group homes. And we lose 4 more young people. And once again, NAN territory and NAN leaders and NAN families are in the front line speaking, saying, for the sake of the children, things have to change. And how can this government talk about reconciliation and nation to nation when the lawyers are in court fighting the survivors of St. Anne's Residential School? That's not justice. That's not nation to nation. And as we heard the heartbreaking stories this morning of the damage being done to this generation of young leaders, we have the federal government in court against the Human Rights Tribunal, refusing to meet the chronic underfunding, and saying in court, their lawyers are saying that Canada cannot be held accountable by the Human Rights Tribunal, and that the communities have to trust in the goodwill of the same system that has been taking the children for 150 years. No, it's got to stop. We cannot let this system go on. And we need to do this together, but it needs to be such a strong, clear voice. You know, I was thinking about the treaty and reading when Duncan Campbell Scott made that promise of education in Albany and Moose Factory and Martin Falls. And I think how powerful that negotiations must have been, because the promise of education was one of the clear commitments that made the communities believe that they could trust the government, because they thought that the government was going to work with them to give their children a better way of life. And the weasel words were put in the text of the treaty, where they said, yeah, we'll give your children education as government may deem advisable. And what government deemed advisable was St. Anne's and Bishop Orton and the other schools. And at the Human Rights Tribunal, to say you have to trust government decisions about funding when we know they're chronically underfunding, it's the same language as Duncan Campbell Scott. And it's got to stop. So I make a pledge to you, if there is one thing that I'm committed and absolutely sure we are going to do, is we are going to make Canada compliant with the Human Rights Tribunal. We're going to end the chronic underfunding in education and child welfare, that broken system, and health, where children are denied the most basic standards that other kids take for granted. But we need to go further in that, and this is where the issue of Indigenous justice and a vision for a whole Canada comes forward. We need to say that the decisions about child welfare, about education, will be dealt with by the communities, by the territory, by the people of the treaty. That the days when Ottawa and Gatineau decide, or Queen's Park decides what's best for your children, it's got to end. That's what nation to nation looks like. I think of this quote, until now, decisions on the education of Indian children have been made by anyone and everyone except Indian parents. This must stop. That quote was in the statement by the National Indian Brotherhood 45 years ago, and I think in 2017 it's time we made those words a reality. That we transfer the power and the decision-making to the people who are in charge of their own children and should be in charge of the health systems for your communities and for development of your communities. We need to make that pledge. That is what Indigenous justice looks like. And I want to say that it's not about sending a broken system that exists now, that the federal government must be accountable and the province must be accountable to ensure that the resources are in place so that we can do proper development and we can ensure better outcomes. So that's Indigenous justice. And economic justice, the great wealth that's on this territory and the right of the communities here to benefit from the development, but also to have a say in that development and to direct that development. and not have the whatever resources that are coming in to help build your communities clawed back by them underfunding programs. That the resources that have benefited everybody else, except the people of Treaty 9, need to be done now in partnership so that your communities are in the driver's seat of development. And that's not an either-or thing. It's not going to be the Indigenous community of Treaty 9 versus the white community. When we ensure that the communities are part of the decision-making and part of the economic development, we're going to build better and healthier and stronger communities, and we will all benefit. That was what the treaty meant. In 2017, we need to make that a reality. That's economic justice. And environmental justice. We have, in January, 10 days in Thunder Bay District above freezing. The crisis of climate change is upon us. The winter roads that are not holding up. The fact that the communities don't have the infrastructure to withstand the kind of shocks and changes that are happening in the environment. Environmental justice means that the communities will be part of all the discussions about meeting our international greenhouse commitments. That we're going to build renewables and that we're going to build sustainable communities and healthy communities. And that your communities will be in the driver's seat of that discussion. Because we cannot have environmental justice anywhere in Canada without the Indigenous voice, without the Indigenous authority of the people who've lived on this land since time immemorial and whose relation to this land is so much stronger than anything that I will ever be able to understand. It is your vision and your understanding and your ideas that we need together to bring change. So I see that we have real opportunity at this time. And I want to just say in my final remarks how honored I've been to see the change that's coming. With young leaders like Shannon Kustashian and Chelsea Edwards, who took the fight of the NAN youth all the way to the United Nations and are opening eyes of Canadians about change. And the youth in your territories are such an incredible opportunity for our whole country and our whole world. That's why we have to invest in them, and I've been honored to watch the youth. But change isn't coming fast enough, and we can't afford to lose anymore. That's why there's such an urgency of us working together at this time, of hearing the heartbreaking stories. I'm tired of hearing these heartbreaking stories. I want to hear more stories of hope. I want to hear more stories of success. I want to know that we have a government that stands there with the young people and gives them the opportunities they deserve and they need, because that is how we're going to make this nation better. And you know, I think of the diamonds, and I always marvel at this when they found diamonds, the incredible human ingenuity of finding diamonds in the Muskego territory. And when they found diamonds, how fast everyone came. They came from South Africa, and they came from London, and they came from the United States. You know, to get those diamonds was an engineering marvel, to build that infrastructure, far from any road. And I don't have a problem with mining if the communities are involved and the communities have a say. But why was it that it was so straightforward to get those diamonds when government couldn't figure out how to build a school for children just down the road? Because we will never be the nation we were meant to be until we understand that it's not the gold, and it's not the diamonds, and it's not the oil, it is the children. They are our greatest resource. And this is what we need to work together to ensure that. And I want to say that your grandparents signed a treaty of trust and got a pretty raw deal. But on Canada's 150th, on the 102nd year of the treaty and the 40th year of the NAN Declaration of Unity, the bill is coming due. And the bill for Canada is to say, we have to now do this together, because what I've learned is the primary relationship in our country is the relationship between the original Indigenous people who've always lived on this land and will always be on this land, and the settlers that came. And 150 years from now, that will still be the primary relationship. And it is up to this generation of leaders, for the sake of the next generation, to say, how do we walk this road together? How do we learn from each other? How do we ensure that the communities have the authority, that they have the resources, that they have the control of their territory, their communities, and the development and vision for their children, so that as the communities benefit, all of Canada will benefit. And I don't need to make an economic argument to you about why investing in young people and investing in healthy communities is a win-win for all of Canada. Because you know. And I think back to Duncan Campbell Scott. And oh boy, if he was here, what I'd like to say to him. But he did make a promise on behalf of the Crown that this relationship would last. As long as the grass grows and the water runs. And that relationship will last. And it's going to be a better relationship. So I want to thank you for your support. I want to say that I am, yes, running for leader of the New Democratic Party. I will only win this if I do have the support of the communities. It will come down to signing memberships. I ask humbly for your support, to be there with me. Because if I am leader of the New Democratic Party, you will have a champion. You will have a partner. You will have someone that will say, I'm not doing this because I am leader. We're making change because I am in this together with you. And my heart is here. And I want to see the young generation in Treaty 9 grow up. And I want them to be the leaders of this country in 10 and 5 and 15 years. So thank you. I want to thank you all. I want to thank Grand Chief Fiddler for inviting me. Grand Chief Solomon, and whose territory I'm honored to be on. I want to thank you all. It's always a humbling and honor for me to be with you and to hear your stories. Thank you, Miigwech.
Grand Chief.
Miigwech MP Charlie Angus. Charlie has been a very strong and a very effective ally for many years for communities, and I thank him for being here, and I thank him for all the work that he's done with us in so many different fronts over these last few years. We wish you well, Charlie, in your run for the leadership of your party. And on behalf of our chiefs here, on behalf of the citizens of the Shandas Nation, we want to give you this gift as a token of our appreciation of all the work that you're doing with us. So much.
I go home for a few days and the wife puts me to work. That's good. You guys back on the road. Yeah, it is.
You gotta put you in front of the camera. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that a lot of people out in the East vote for him all the time. So he's looking for membership, you know, so that I gather that you can, through membership, that you can vote for him, you know. My good friend Tanya Cameron, who is NDP through and through, talked to me, can you buy a membership so you can vote for Charlie? I said, I'd vote for him any day, but I cannot buy a membership. And I've never joined a political party. I have a hard time holding on, keeping my, what they call treaty card from government, you know. It's not a treaty card, it's a membership card, you know. So, but anyway, I would encourage people to stand with our good friend Charlie here. I'm going to be assisting to push his candidacy forward, talking to people. Okay? So thank you very much, Charlie, for being with us. At this time, I'll call